Hey, and welcome guys to another little tutorial. Now, in today's lesson that we have, and if you've not checked out player events, then you probably will not understand this workflow at all. And if you have not checked out my video on interfaces, you will not be able to probably understand this video. You may, but if you have troubles with either concepts, and I suggest you hit those two videos. I'll probably try to put a link in the video or down in the description if it's not too in detailed and you have problems with it. So let's get into business here. Now this will deal with the weapon managing itself. We will be using a interface to interface with the weapon, which we will probably not get into in this video, but this is to illustrate how we can change weapons without a reference to the some type of an array or some type of collection that we keep rendering into. Now, this is our base class for weapon management, and we have our player events that we subscribe to. Now, we have all these functions right here for changing, reload, fire values, and our event system tells these what to do. Change, aim, walk, close weapon is probably a crummy name, but you get the idea, I guess. Fire values is firing. Reload is it set. Okay, and we have all these. So the event system, when we're aiming, it calls this function, walking, running stuff. Now, why do we have this in here? You're probably like, what's this? Sounds like something for the weapon to be subscribing to. And naturally you would be right. But the problem with using delegates, and this is the problem that I ran into, and you could probably find some other way to get over it, is when you subscribe to this void right here, when this delegate is being called, it calls functions on game objects and scripts that are disabled. It doesn't care, it just calls the function. So every single thing that has an aim function on it, if you're subscribed to it, it will call it. So if you have 10 weapons on there, guess what? Even the disabled ones are running that function. So what can we do to get around that? Well, that's why I brought a weapon interface in. And what this weapon interface is for is simple. Our interface is for one specific reason, for the functions. Instead of directly going input.get button down and putting these inside the script, I'm using, instead of inputs, I'm using the actual void calls in itself. So everything that my weapon needs to know, I pass it the values. So where's a good place to give these values in? And I believe it is in the weapon manager script. And we have a variable right here. Just one, no array, no nothing. Okay? And you're probably like, well, that makes no sense. Well, you'd probably be right for the most part. So let's go into our light gunner class. Okay, we have all our slots. Okay, and notice I've got this weapon index. Okay, this number. I have a game object, just a single game object, no arrays or nothing like that. Okay, changing, we call changing right from the vid. Well, where's some of our other stuff? Well, you see we've got this fire values, bool is reloading. And then we have this actions, firing is firing. This is coming from the interface. Okay? See this? It's called actions, which in reality I should call it this. We should put a W and an underscore. So we're going to get some errors, but we'll fix that. Well, I will, but you guys will have the cooler overwritten version of it. Okay, so is fired. Okay, so in our weapon manager itself, in our event system, when this is called from the event system, it tells our interface to fire, right? We're passing the values correctly. Okay, yeah, that sounds cool, right? Well, what's this interface for? It is for our weapon. Okay? See how I've got this interface integrated? And the beauty thing about this, inheritance will only allow you to inherit from a base class. You have to inherit. You can't do two different types of inheritance. But you can use an inherited version and an interface version. Okay? And then you see changing gun, walking. Okay? All the stuff that you usually would see right off the bat. Okay? So basically what the interface is doing is telling the weapon what to do. You know, like your remote. Hey, you aim at it, you push the power button. Do you care? The only thing that you want is it to turn off or on, right? It doesn't care about the rest of the stuff. So everything that's running on your television to keep track of the channels and all that good stuff, it's all done for you in the television side. The remote just interfaces to the TV and goes, hit the power. You know, and this is basically how we're doing our stuff. Is the interface itself, we're interfacing with the weapon, which this, if we use it in this form of way, all we'd have to do is tell the interface what to do. We don't care about what script, what type of script it is, or anything else. We go directly into the interface and go bam. So every time we interact with the weapon, we're driving it from the interface instead of the actual class in itself. The weapon class itself does everything that it needs to do, but the interface is basically telling it what to do. Hey, is it you should fire your weapon. You should move your weapon over. You should start sniping. You should do this. You know, and interfaces are really nice for that. So we're calling it W actions. You know, and we get our stuff. So, you know, our voids are called when they need to be. Changing, aiming, all that good stuff. That's coming from base. So we have one game object, which we need a target game object anyway. And this is telling the weapon to fire. Okay? Which is, you know, just what it needs to do. Now, I've got this region right here. This is not necessarily used, but this is so I can get this little cross down. Okay? It can expand and, you know, do code. So, changing, if gun does not equal null, then we loop in here with our weapon count, and we go weapon transform, which we have a variable for that permanently, get child, I, does not equal gun transform. And what this is every single time we get a child, we're comparing this game object to this transform to this. It's a comparison. If it's not my gun, then we disable the game object at the index of I. So this transform, get child, at this number, okay? And it cannot go above the child count because this is a for loop, okay? We call weapon.close. Okay, that's cool. So we got this weapon index, which is, where we are in the indexing of how we want to sort through our weapons. And we are using +1 here with our little braces. And this is the dividing it by the transform count. And the reason why we do it this way is because this can never go above the child count. If it's 0, it will stay 0. If it's one thing parented to it, it will go to 0 and 1. If it's 2, basically it's like a mathf.clamp. It clamps the range. But in the meantime, it goes, hey, +1. I use stop coroutine for next weapon, and then start coroutine. The reason why I do this is because if there's a coroutine already going, I want to stop it. Okay? I don't want more. See, if somebody sits there and keeps mashing the buttons, it will start another coroutine every single time, which would be very bad because in your program, when a coroutine start running and then your weapon finally comes up, it's going to just sit there and keep pushing. It's just going to keep looping through every weapon continuously until it runs out of coroutines. Okay, so we stop it before we start a new one. Okay, and we in our start coroutine, we give it the name of the I enumeration. Okay, and we go weapon transform dot get child by weapon index, because by the time this runs, it sets the index exactly where it needs to be, and then the enumeration will do this. While the gun is not null and gun is active in the hierarchy, so if we're waiting for the animation to reach the endpoint before the gun disables, then it just does yield return null. It will just keep going and going and yielding and yielding and yielding until it reaches the disabled point. And if it's disabled, then we take the gun variable, put it up to next weapon, and this is where I changed it and done this. Now we do it to next new weapon, which is our overload method. And you see this weapon action? That is a variable that everyone has, which is weapon actions. This is what tells the weapon what to do, like shoot, reload, and stuff like that. It just calls one void call and bam, there you go. And the gun script itself sorts all the logic that it needs. It doesn't care what it does. It just tells the system, hey, do this. So it makes the weapon script very dependent on its own functions. And then we go new weapon dot set active equals true, because we need the weapon to be activated. And then I just do a yield return new, wait for end of frame, and that's done. And see, that's our enumeration. Very simple little weapon. And I have end region here because I want to be able to collapse this weapon changing. Okay. Oh. Oh, there we go. Because I want to collapse it. Okay, now I got this. And we got our weapon thing. That's been done. Okay. Now we have our aim variable. Now, I'm telling the manager to do this stuff. And then the manager tells the weapon. Because I don't want it to directly tell every single weapon and subscribe to it. Because every single time the weapon gets activated, I don't want to subscribe and then unsubscribe. Subscribe, then unsubscribe. Because to subscribe and unsubscribe, there's going to be some CG collection that way. Which, if I just subscribe to the weapon manager and then have the weapon manager tell the actual weapon that's active what to do, there's going to be no CG involved. It's not going to just sit there and garbage collect because I'm subscribing and I'm subscribing. This subscription to this class right here only happens once. So I only get this one get component, bam, done. Doesn't care. So it does what it needs to do and then it just leaves. No biggie whatsoever. So we do the aim stuff, the walking stuff, and gun close. So if the gun's not null and weapon actions is not null, then we do weapon.close. And that is, I'm pretty sure I use that for putting the weapon away. Okay, now same thing here, which is going to be our firing. We tell the weapon script, hey, we're firing. Cool, that's great. And this is for reloading. Okay, and aiming equals false, so we don't have to deal with none of that other stuff. And that's pretty much it. Ain't that some cool stuff? Yeah, so ooh, where's changing again? Now, because of the way this script works and everything for changing, you're probably like, well, where's an array? We don't have to track what gun we're on. And the reason is, in Unity, when we do our weapon stuff, okay, we have our weapon transform. Nothing else gets parented in this weapon transform. The only thing it actually is for weapons. This transform only exists to parent a bunch of weapons, and that's it. We use it for nothing else. So anything that's a child here is a weapon. If we wanted something different, then we're going to have to come up with a different type of system for it. But yeah, that's all we need right there. Bam. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. And I know it's a little bit strange and a little bit weird of a system, but later on, and I forgot some stuff, looks like. Or did I forget just to save? Is that what it is? Probably. I know it's a little weird of a system to have variables and different stuff going on and not know what that's all about. Oh, yeah, because I haven't used it yet. But, it's just one of those things where you just have to work with it enough. And I'll put that interface up again. Oh, when you're doing an interface, you can always right click, go to implement implement interface, and then there should be a thing on it. But the interface is written like this. Now, I expect there's going to be some other stuff for this go on, but for the most part, yeah, this, because walking could become an enum. I could be passing an integer into that. Because like anything else, walking, when we integrate maybe climbing in, that's when we're going to need a integer or whatnot, or an action possibly, or something of the sort. But yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and this is War over and out, guys.